This is the story of Sarah Chen and how she learned that sometimes family can be your greatest adversary, especially in business. For a decade, she poured her heart and soul into their modest family tech company, transforming it from a struggling startup into a $50 million enterprise. Yet success often breeds envy, even among those who should be celebrating your accomplishments. She still vividly recalled the day it all began, when their family business was merely a small computer repair shop in a strip mall. Her father had started it 2 decades prior, and it was his pride and joy, even though it barely provided enough to support their family. Her sister Emma was always his favorite. Emma was the one who consistently earned straight A's and attended an elite business school. Sarah was the quiet one, the one who stayed behind to assist their father while pursuing her computer science degree at a local college. "Sarah, you're squandering your potential here," Emma would remark during her visits home from college. "You should aim higher." But Sarah perceived something in their humble shop that others didn't: potential. While Emma was engrossed in theoretical business models, Sarah was acquiring real-world programming skills and identifying market gaps. During her final year of college, she developed their first proprietary software, a simple yet effective tool for small businesses to manage their inventory. It wasn't revolutionary, but it was user-friendly and affordable. Her father was initially skeptical, but when local businesses began purchasing licenses, his demeanor shifted. "Perhaps you're on to something, kiddo," he finally said, a glimmer of pride in his voice. Those words meant everything to her then. If only she had known they were as fleeting as morning dew. The business steadily grew under her direction. She worked 14-hour days, 7 days a week, while Emma was ascending the corporate ladder at a prestigious consulting firm in New York. Sarah was constructing something tangible. Their small repair shop evolved into a software development company, and their client base expanded from local businesses to national corporations. Her mother observed it all with quiet apprehension. "Don't overwork yourself, Sarah," she would say, bringing her dinner to the office. "You need a life outside of work, too." But Sarah was propelled by a vision, and perhaps, deep down, by a desire to prove herself to her family. 5 years into their transformation, they reached their first million in annual revenue. That's when Emma suddenly expressed interest in the family business again. She resigned from her job in New York and returned home. "I believe it's time I assumed my rightful position in the company," she declared at a family dinner. "With my business expertise, we could truly elevate things to the next level." Her father beamed at her words. "That's wonderful, Princess. We could use your professional touch around here." Sarah sat there, fork suspended midair, trying to comprehend what was happening. The company she had built from almost nothing was being handed to her sister on a silver platter, but she suppressed her objections and attempted to be a team player. Emma was appointed as co-CEO alongside her, despite having no experience in their industry. Her father claimed it would benefit the company's image to have someone with Emma's credentials at the helm. Sarah concentrated on product development and operations, while Emma managed marketing and investor relations. The subsequent 5 years were a study in contrasts. While Sarah continued to develop new software solutions and maintain client relationships, Emma focused on cultivating a glamorous image for herself as the company's public face. She granted interviews about being a woman in tech and accepted awards for entrepreneurship, all while claiming credit for innovations Sarah's team had created. Their revenue continued to swell, reaching $50 million annually, but so did the friction between them. Emma began excluding Sarah from key meetings, making decisions without consulting her, and gradually pushing her to the periphery of her own creation. Then came her father's 60th birthday party, the day everything irrevocably changed. The party was Emma's concept, of course. She reserved the grand ballroom of the city's most opulent hotel and invited all their business associates. It was more of a networking event than a birthday celebration, but that was Emma's style. Everything had to serve a purpose. Sarah arrived early to assist with the preparations, wearing a simple black dress that Emma immediately criticized. "Couldn't you have made more of an effort?" she hissed. "These are important people coming tonight." Sarah disregarded her comment and concentrated on greeting guests as they arrived. The room rapidly filled with business associates, clients, and family friends. Emma worked the room like a politician, while Sarah remained in the background, ensuring everything ran seamlessly. During dinner, Emma clinked her glass and rose for a speech. Sarah anticipated the usual, a touching tribute to their father, perhaps some childhood memories. Instead, she dropped a bombshell that would shatter their family forever. "As we celebrate Dad's 60th birthday," she began, her voice carrying across the silent room, "I think it's time to announce some changes at Chen Technologies. The board has agreed that the company needs unified leadership to move forward." Sarah's heart stopped. Board meetings? What board meetings? "For too long, we've been held back by outdated thinking and resistance to change," Emma continued, her eyes fixed on Sarah. "That's why, effective immediately, I will be taking over as sole CEO. It's time for certain elements that are no longer serving our growth to step aside." The room erupted in murmurs. Sarah sat there, frozen, as Emma continued her character assassination disguised as a corporate announcement. "Some people," she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy, "are better suited to technical roles rather than leadership. My sister Sarah has been adequate in maintaining our legacy systems, but to compete in today's market, we need vision. We need excellence. And frankly, Sarah, you're just not cut out for this level of business." Sarah looked at her father, expecting, hoping he would defend her. Instead, he was nodding along with Emma's words, a proud smile on his face. Her mother stared at her plate, her hands trembling slightly. "The truth is," Emma continued, her voice rising, "you're worthless in today's business world, Sarah. Your old-fashioned ideas and lack of proper business education have become a liability. It's time for you to step aside gracefully." The silence in the room was deafening. Hundreds of eyes turned to Sarah, awaiting her response. She could feel the pity, the scorn, and the judgment. Everything she had built, every sacrifice she had made, was being stripped away in front of everyone she knew. She stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the floor. The sound echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. Everyone anticipated a scene, perhaps tears, maybe a shouting match. Instead, she simply picked up her purse, walked to her father's table, and placed a small wrapped package in front of him. "Happy birthday, Dad," she said quietly. Then she walked out of the ballroom, head held high, leaving behind the whispers and stares. That night, as she sat in her home office, surrounded by awards and patents bearing her name, she made a decision. Emma believed she had won, but she had forgotten one crucial detail, something that would transform her moment of triumph into her biggest mistake. As Sarah powered up her laptop and began typing, a small smile played on her lips. Tomorrow would indeed be interesting. After all, there's more than one way to run a successful business, and she had learned more in 10 years than Emma had learned in all her fancy business classes. The next morning would bring changes that none of them foresaw. Changes that would make them realize exactly how worthless she truly was. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Sarah arrived at the office early, before anyone else, and waited. Precisely at 9 a.m., Emma strode through the front doors with their father beside her, both wearing triumphant smiles that were about to be wiped from their faces. "Sarah," Emma's voice held a mix of surprise and annoyance. "What are you doing here? I thought after last night you'd have the dignity to stay home." Sarah smiled, remembering the email she had sent at 3 a.m. to every major client, partner, and employee of Chen Technologies. "Just wrapping up some loose ends, sister dear. But since you're here, we should probably talk about the company's future." "There's nothing to discuss," her father interjected, his voice firm. "Emma's in charge now. The board has already approved it." "Ah, yes, the board," Sarah said, pulling out her tablet. "Let's talk about that. You see, while Emma was busy planning parties and giving interviews, I was actually building this company, and there are a few things you both seem to have forgotten." She pulled up a document on the conference room's main screen. "First, let me remind you that I own 51% of Chen Technologies shares. When we incorporated 10 years ago, Dad gave Emma and me equal shares of 25% each, keeping 50% for himself. But 3 years ago, when we needed capital for expansion, Dad sold me 26% of the shares. Remember that day, Dad? You were too busy attending Emma's awards ceremony to handle the negotiations yourself, so you signed the papers without reading them carefully. The color drained from both their faces. Emma's perfectly manicured hands gripped the conference table. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Dad would never—" "Oh, but he did," Sarah continued, pulling up more documents. "And that's not all. The core software that generates 80% of our revenue, it's not owned by Chen Technologies. It's owned by my separate company, Innovate Solutions LLC. Chen Technologies only has a licensing agreement which expires." Sarah checked her watch. "About 10 minutes ago." Her father collapsed into a chair, realization dawning on his face. "The renewal papers? The ones you asked me to sign last week? The ones you were too busy to read because you were helping Emma plan the party?" "Yes, those papers," Sarah confirmed. "I decided not to submit them." Emma's face contorted with rage. "You underhanded little—" "Careful, sister," Sarah cut her off. "You might want to hear the rest before you finish that sentence. While you were busy announcing my supposedly graceful exit last night, I was sending emails to our clients. You see, most of our major clients have personal loyalty clauses in their contracts. They signed with Chen Technologies because of me, my expertise, and my track record. Last night, I informed them of the leadership changes and my departure." Sarah pulled up her email, showing the dozens of responses that had already arrived. "Would you like to know how many have already triggered their contract termination clauses? Or how many of our top developers, who, by the way, are actually employed by Innovate Solutions, have already accepted positions at my new venture?" The room fell silent. Through the glass walls, they could see employees gathering, whispers spreading as they checked their emails. Emma's perfect composure cracked as she frantically checked her phone. "You can't do this," she stammered. The company you tried to steal from me," Sarah finished. "The one you thought you could just take over because you have an MBA and Dad's approval. That company ceased to exist the moment you decided to humiliate me in front of everyone we know." Sarah stood up, smoothing her dress. "So here are your options. Option 1, I walk away with my shares, my software, my clients, and my employees. Chen Technologies becomes an empty shell, and you can explain to all those important people you invited last night why the company's value dropped to 0 overnight." Her father's face had aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. "And option 2?" he asked weakly. "Option 2, you both resign. I take full control of Chen Technologies. You keep your shares as silent partners, receiving dividends but having no say in operations. Emma gets a nice severance package and glowing references for her next job somewhere far away from here." Emma's face had turned an interesting shade of red. "You planned this all along, didn't you? You've just been waiting for the right moment to stab us in the back." Sarah laughed, but there was no humor in it. "No, Emma. I spent 10 years trying to be a good daughter and sister while you both took me for granted. I built this company from nothing while you collected accolades for my work. I only planned this." She checked her watch again. "About 12 hours ago, after you called me worthless in front of everyone we know." Her phone buzzed. Another client termination notice. "Time's running out. What's it going to be?" The next hour was a blur of paperwork and lawyers. By noon, Sarah sat alone in what was now her office, looking out over the city. The company she had built was now truly hers, but the victory felt hollow. Family relationships lay in ruins around her, trust shattered like dropped crystal. Her mother came to see her that evening, her eyes red from crying. "Did it have to end this way?" she asked softly. "They gave me no choice," Sarah replied, her voice gentle but firm. "They would have taken everything I built and discarded me without a second thought." Her mother nodded slowly, understanding but sad. "What happens now?" Sarah showed her the plans she had already drawn up, expansions, new product lines, innovations she had been holding back. "Now, I build something even bigger, but this time I do it without having to carry people who see me as worthless." Over the next year, Chen Technologies, under her sole leadership, tripled in value. Emma found a job with a startup in Silicon Valley, humbled but hopefully wiser. Her father retired, finally understanding that his golden child had nearly destroyed his legacy. They saw each other at holidays, maintaining a polite distance that masked the wounds that might never fully heal. Sometimes, late at night, Sarah would look at old family photos and feel a twinge of sadness for what they had lost. But then she would remember that night at the birthday party. The look of disdain on Emma's face, the way her father nodded along with her cruel words. In business and in family, respect is earned, not given. They learned that lesson too late. As for Sarah, she learned that sometimes the quiet ones, the ones dismissed as worthless, are the ones you should watch out for, because they're the ones who know how to build something from nothing and how to take it all back when others try to steal it. Her story spread through business circles, a cautionary tale about underestimating the wrong person. These days, when she attended industry events, she often caught whispers. "That's Sarah Chen, the one who—" They never finished the sentence, but they didn't have to. Her success spoke for itself. Last week, she received an invitation to speak at Emma's business school's graduation ceremony. The topic: Hidden Strengths, the Power of Underestimated Leaders. She accepted the invitation with a small smile, already planning her speech. After all, she had quite a story to tell. The company continued to thrive under her leadership, but more importantly, Sarah found peace with her decisions. Sometimes the strongest message you can send is simply proving people wrong. And sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying others. It's about rising so high that they can't help but see their own mistakes. As she wrote this from her office overlooking the city, she was reminded of something her mother once told her. Success is the best revenge, but wisdom is knowing when to stop seeking revenge and start seeking growth. Her mother was right. Sarah had moved past the need for revenge now. These days, she focused on building something meaningful, something that would outlast all the petty jealousies and family dramas. She still kept that wrapped birthday present she never gave her father, a photo album of the company's journey from that tiny repair shop to what it was today. Maybe someday, when the wounds had healed enough, she would finally give it to him. Until then, it served as a reminder that our greatest strengths often come from the very things others underestimate about us.